Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Yes. Steve Eisenbarth.
Present.
Robert Pope.
Present.
Aaron Tevabaugh.
Present.
Don Loudon. Greg Zuzan.
Present.
Okay, we're going to have a proclamation. It's constitutional. Ryan, are you going to handle that?
Yes, I'll read the proclamation, and then Linda is here from the Daughters of American Revolution, so we'll provide it to her once I've read it. So the proclamation is Constitution Week, whereas September 17th, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document in its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, we, by virtue of the authority vested in us as the Town Council of Avon in the state of Indiana, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week, and urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities what that privilege involves. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused seal of Avon, Indiana, to be affixed this 9th day of September in the year of the Lord 2021. Avon, signed by the Avon Town Council and Julie Loker. Linda, would you come up?
Do we want to take a recess for this, or do we want to not take a recess and then wait?
Yeah, we'll just take a quick picture and go, if that's okay. Just real quick.
Turn your back, Dan.
No, I put in the passcode, and it's not letting me back.
Next up is our NOVA Award presentation. Ian?
Good evening, council members, residents that have joined us here at Town Hall. My name is Ian Loera. I'm the senior planner for the town. And today I have the pleasure of presenting the second Avon Nova Award. As you may know, the Avon Nova Award is an award that celebrates the good in our community. Nominations are submitted online once a month, and one of those submissions is chosen to be that month's award winner. So if anyone watching tonight knows of an Avon resident who's making a positive impact in the community, you may also nominate them online. Just visit Facebook or LinkedIn for details. But for the month of September, we would like to officially recognize Gary and Beverly Ackman, who are in the audience tonight. Where are they? Hello. Per the nomination submission, Gary and Beverly have continued to support the Avon Police Department, officers and staff through acts of kindness, directly and indirectly. Spanning several years, the Ackmans take pride and pleasure in being able to provide for the Avon Police by generously donating food and time for all of those that work the National Night Out. In years past, they have also assisted with grilling and cooking, as well as serving the community throughout the event. To quote the nominator, the Ackmans are the most supportive couple that I have ever met. They are down to earth, good people, and they love and support the town they live in. So with that, Gary and Beverly, if you would like to join me at the podium. And I believe the department would like to say something.
We really appreciate you being here, obviously, and as you can see, everyone here from the police department and how much we appreciate what you all have done for us, and we couldn't do what we've done without you, so thank you very much. Thank you.
And with that, on behalf of the entire town of Avon, we would like to say thank you for shining bright. Thank you for providing support to those that protect our town. Thank you for serving the community without hesitation. And thank you for always being willing to show kindness to all of those around you. Gary and Beverly Ackman, we present to you a small token of our appreciation through this certificate and award. So if you'd like to take that. I'd like to take this certificate here.
I think we're going to go ahead and take about a 5-minute break so that we can get photos with the Ackmans outside and with our police department. So we will be on a recess online. Thank you. Okay, we're back in session and we'll move on with the agenda. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda, which consists of the check register, September 9th, minutes, August 26th, performance bond release, and vehicle purchase for Avon PD. Any discussion?
It all looked normal to me. I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda with those items as presented.
I'll second.
Great, we have a first and a second. Julie, would you take roll call, please?
Greg Zuzen,
Four.
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
Four.
Aaron Teveba,
Four.
Steve Eisenbarth,
Four.
Right, next is public comment. The public may comment on items on the agenda that are not a public hearing this evening or on a specific matter within the council's jurisdiction. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? If so, come to the podium, click the microphone so that you have a green light, state your name and address. No one coming forward, we'll close public comment. Next is department head updates.
Evening, members of the council, Bill Peoples. I'm the planning director of the town. The Board of Zoning Appeals did not meet in August, but the Plan Commission did have 5 cases. Now 2 of those cases, the Rise Commercial District rezoning on Ronald Reagan Parkway and the Old Tough Homes Plan Unit Development on 200 North were both continued to this month. 2 zoning amendments were forwarded to you with a favorable recommendation. They're on tonight's agenda. And there was a subdivision plat approved called Millstone, which subdivided 65 acres into 116 lots. The Board of Zoning Appeals had 2 cases on the agenda, special exception this month. The Board of Zoning Appeals has 2 cases on the agenda, special exception for a Raising Cane's restaurant within the Harvest Landing commercial subdivision and a modification of conditions associated with a special exception that was granted in 2018 for the Misty Eyes Animal Shelter. And that modification would allow Misty Eyes to continue to use the gravel parking lot they have until the Dan Jones widening is completed. Plan Commission has 5 items on the agenda for this month. As you heard, Rise Commercial and one of the Old Tough Homes PUDs is on that agenda for hearing. In addition to that, there's the industrial portion of Avon Landing that has a primary plat pending before the Plan Commission, the Brookstone Planned Unit Development along 100 North, and the Unified Development Ordinance, which we talked a little bit about before. Looking ahead to October, the BZA does have 1 case scheduled. It's setback variance for a pool, and the Plan Commission currently has no cases scheduled, but then of course they could have some continuances from this meeting. The code enforcement did conduct a total of 84 inspections in August. They were able to close 48 cases. They do have 34 cases, a lot of high weeds and grass and such pending, but still ongoing. And we are continuing to scan documents for older cases. So we have completed, for the most part, all planning documents, getting them scanned between 1996 and 2001. Ian is also incorporating all those documents into our software platform, iWorks, so that we can then marry that up to GIS. Daniel is working on getting GIS up and running. So we're working forward. We're making progress on some of our goals and planning, trying to get us automated for the into the 21st century. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Good evening, council. Mike
Hi.
Tully, building commissioner, et cetera. You have my monthly report from August. And wondered if you have any questions, comments, concerns.
Just comment that you're doing great. I mean, lots of volume going on, and thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been quite busy on the inspection front this year, and we're, close to 10,800 inspections. So we're really getting after it. So,
Yep.
I mean, and Costco, just a couple items of note, Costco's ready to start ramping up next week, where we're going to have daily inspections because they're trying to get their roof done. and they're already building interior walls. So we started the first in-wall today, and then starting next week, it's going to be every day we're going to be out there. So I know John had mentioned they were shooting for the 27th of October. We'll see how that goes. They've started doing some underground work for electrical, sprinklers, plumbing for Avon Logistics Building 2. They are setting on average 25 concrete stand-up panels a day. All their steel is there, and they're going to fire back up with steel next week for their roof structure. So the building looked big to me before, it's starting to look bigger. So, and that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so.
Good job.
Yeah, thank
All right,
you.
well, thank you very much. Have a good one.
You too, Mike.
Thank you.
Steve Moore, Public Works. Well, we got some things going on. We got striping going on right now. We're doing long lines. We'll be coming back and doing stop bars and other markings, arrows and things like that shortly. We've got crack filling almost done. We've got some storm drainage projects going on. I think we're getting ready to go over to the subdivision on the other side of Stratford is no, one more.
Woodridge?
No.
Ashley Oaks.
Black Hawk Court, where's that? Oak Bend, there you go, thank you, yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna be going over there, a problem that's it's been for years, I guess, neighbors have complained about it, and we finally got the right of entry, and we're able to get in there, so they're starting that shortly. We've got several that we've just completed. We're getting sinkholes that we're finding, and we're taking care of those as quick as we find them. Ryan and I went out there with a consultant that is working for free because they designed the original FDR project that was done. We're getting some big rutting. You probably have seen that the road's not holding up perfectly over by 36 and north of 36 on Ronald Reagan. So we have some major issues going on. We were going to do some full depth patching, but it grew and it's getting bigger and bigger. So we're trying to figure out what caused it in the first place so we can not toss good money on top of bad. We have some ideas just from, they drilled 12 holes, 12 cores in different locations. And we have some ideas about what's going on there, but they're going to do some additional testing and come up with some recommendations and before we make our repairs, because that's can be quite expensive to repair that road. I don't know if you saw how bad it is and the extent, but it's could be hundreds of thousands of dollars if we do the wrong thing. So we want to do it the right way. 100 South is doing well. We've got curb going down. We've got more work doing as far as asphalt going down as well. So we're making good progress. We're still on target for opening from all points to Dan Jones by Thanksgiving. See, what else do we got going on? I think that's pretty close. Any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
No, thanks.
Good evening, council. Dave Margison, Deputy Chief with the Police Department. Many of these things I provided to Councilman Tivaball, I'm sorry. First thing is we have one officer that is going to be releasing to solo patrol next week. So that's been a long time in coming and it's going to be a good help. We have 3 officers that will be graduating on the 20th of this month from the academy. And then they will release to solo patrol on October the 4th. So we're going to be receiving some help that is very much needed. We currently have one officer who just went to the academy at the end of last month, and he'll graduate in December, and then he will join solo patrol right before the turn of the new year. We had officers who were monitoring. I'm sure we've spoke about the flock camera system. Plainfield has added their cameras and hadn't even got their officers up and trained on them yet. Our officers obviously are already familiar with them, so they got a hit off of one of Plainfield's cameras at Ronald Reagan, north of 40 for northbound traffic, and stopped a stolen vehicle just a few days ago from the addition of Plainfield's cameras. So it's nice to see the counties all coming together with different cameras. Spoke with Brownsburg today at the Chiefs meeting, and they're moving forward with cameras in their town. So we will have south of us and north of us covered, as well as here. So it seems to be something that a lot of people are trying to jump on board with, and we can share information. So that's been nice to see. The Gun Crimes Task Force, Detective High, arrested an individual earlier this week on numerous counts of domestic battery and invasion of privacy. This person was in Avon, but the Hendricks County Sheriff's Department jurisdiction. That suspect was also felt to be involved in some shootings around the area. He admitted to 2 shootings, and they were able to secure the firearm and seize it via search warrant. So that new team they're really going after things, and Detective High is working real hard. It's nice to see that coming out here and helping with crime in this county. So that's something we wanted to report on. The hiring process, pre-applications are still going. Those numbers are up around 150. And statistically speaking, we'll likely see somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 applicants during testing day, which is the 18th, Saturday, the 18th. A quick report on COVID impact. Within the past month, we've had 4 officers that have had COVID positive results, and 2 other officers were quarantined due to family members who were COVID positive. So we've seen an increase in that. All the officers are currently back to work with the exception of one who has just recently been quarantined. We had one officer who was actually hospitalized for a period of 4 or 5 days. He's back to work and doing well, so that's great news. And we just want to say we appreciate your guidance and support, and happy to answer any questions.
I don't think we have anything. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mhm.
Ryan, are you reporting for any other department at this time?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great. Council comments and liaison reports. Steve, we'll start on your side tonight.
I'm going to let Robert speak to one. I've talked on that one. Recycling district, I always like to mention a little plug. The October 9th is the Tox Away Day. That's a Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. That one will be at Plainfield Middle School, and that'll be one of the last ones. So if you want to avoid wait time, 10 o'clock is usually a good time when it goes down a bit. Monday, I'll have a tipping fee analysis committee meeting, which is we're just going to go through a lot of data is basically what this is going to be. And we're going to be looking at reducing or eliminating the subsidy that from the county's reserves is what's been going on past few years. So we're going to be taking a hard look at this, at the data. We've talked in the past about the Avon board positions to fill. I think that's great. It's good for us to keep mentioning that. One thing I could probably use is I have a gentleman interested in redevelopment. If there's a past packet I could give this person, that would be helpful. And then applications, of course. Stormwater board did meet and authorized training for staff to the Indiana Association for Floodplain and Stormwater Conference, and some other things were passed, and that's about it for me.
Thank you, Greg.
Well, the only thing I have is last week was the Employee Appreciation Week, and I attended breakfast and lunch a couple of those days, but I also participated in the cornhole, and I just want all of our employees to know that they're very valued They're doing a great job. There's a great camaraderie out there, a team effort. And, we all need each other. And Ryan, I applaud you for putting this together and certainly let everybody know that a job well done by all, and continue to keep on keeping on. That's all I have.
Thank you. Robert?
Kind of as Steve mentioned, I had no board meetings since our last council meeting, so nothing from a liaison standpoint. But Steve and I had an opportunity to drive down 100 South about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Starting to look like a road. As Steve Moore mentioned, they're starting to asphalt now. We're just keeping an eye on it, trying to make sure it stays on timeline, but it's looking good. It's looking great. That's it for me.
Thank you. Aaron?
Yeah, real quick, I want to thank Jared and everyone who participated in the 9/11 anniversary video. It was a great project. I'm very excited to have that and to see all of the support. It's been a while since we've had a community video, and we had a couple, 2 or 3 years in a row there, so that was nice to see. And just tag on to what Greg said about the Employee Recognition Week. That was awesome. It seems like that's really, really helping, and I appreciate everyone who pitched in on that. And then one meeting, Ryan, myself, and Chief Stoops met with Bill Westfall last week, and they're going to get the leadership training in to try and get that started by year's end.
Great, thank you. And in my notes, it's duplication, but Employee Appreciation Week, we really do appreciate all of the staff and all of our department heads and Ryan, you, and everything that you guys do for our community. So thank you. And then I had a chance to ride with Steve Moore on Thursday, I think, on 100 South, and it was nice to see the curbs in and so all the progress going on. There's a lot of movement, a lot of moving parts on that street right now. So it's exciting though. So other than that, I attended my leadership Hendricks County, and we had a community conversation day. That was last Wednesday. No old business, so we'll move on to new business, starting with our 2022 budget non-general fund presentation.
I'm going to kind of hit this high level. If you guys do want to, a couple of things, I'll maybe walk you through all the information you have, and then I'll probably just go through some of the summary of budget changes. And then if you guys want to get into any of the details of it, I'm happy to walk you through the individual budgets, or if you want Steve to come up here and talk about the Public Works budget, he can do that. A couple of things. So you have the summary of budgets, or the summary of funds, which if you guys recall, it's changed slightly from last time. It was the general fund budget was 6.1 million. And as Greg did in his presentation, he told us we could go to 6.12. So that did change. That was the real only change in that document, but that's why I provided it again, just because there was a slight modification. Then you kind of run through all the different departments. And so the non-general fund, just for people out there, the town has different revenue services, different revenue streams. The general fund is typically income tax and property taxes, and that basically funds mostly salaries and things like that. But there are special funds as well that we can use to fund other things, and typically most of them go to parks and public works. And those funds are revenue sources, but they have specific uses that you have to use for them. So I'll kind of maybe run through a few of those briefly. The food and beverage fund is fund that's it's a portion of sales tax. So when people go to restaurants and eat, a portion of that actually goes. It's actually the only uses can be parks, stormwater, sewer, and water. The town does not have sewer and water. And then we have our own stormwater utility. So mostly all we use our food and beverage funds for is to fund our parks department. We also have what's called a recreation impact fee, which is a fee that new property owners pay when they pull a building permit. They actually pay a fee of $1,095. So every unit that comes into town, they are paying that fee. And the thought process with the impact fee is that the property owners who are here, who live here now, have paid for the existing facilities. And so as more people come, they put a higher demand on our need for additional facilities. And so those people are paying to basically help fund future needs. And so that's how we're paying for purchasing more parkland and building our trail network, is a combination of kind of those two things. We always do what we call a program budget. So will notice that there is a park program budget, which identifies all the items we're using. And then it also identifies what fund that's coming from. Likewise, Public Works is pretty similar. We do a program fund for that as well, just because there's so many different sources. It's hard for the council to basically see and understand without kind of looking at it in that manner. So if you look through the Public Works program budget, it has all the items that we did in 2021 and then what we're proposing for 2022. And then it identifies which fund is being used to pay for that service, basically, or that program. Again, just a quick run through of the different funds. The CCD is a tax rate. The council every year passes a specific tax rate that is for capital improvements. And so in our case, CCD, we use to fund road improvements like paving, crack sealing, road work. We also use that to purchase vehicles for the town. And then one of the things we also use our CCD fund is to purchase police vehicles as well. CCI is the Cumulative Capital Improvement Fund. It's actually from the cigarette tax. And that fund's pretty small, but again, we use that for paying for capital services for Public Works. Local roads and streets is a gas tax, and it's very specific. It has to be used for capital improvements only. So again, that money goes towards paving and maintenance of roads. MVH is the largest fund when it comes to Public Works, which is motor vehicle highway. It is also a gas tax, but it also it is supported partially by some property tax revenue as well. This is the major fund that we use that pays for the salary of our employees, our Public Works employees, and then it also pays a large chunk of our road maintenance as well. Part of MVH also has, we get wheel tax money. So when people go to the BMV and actually pay their fees, they actually pay a wheel tax based on the vehicles that they register. And that wheel tax also is in the MVH fund. We deposit our money there. Again, most of the general use of that funds is for engineering, Public Works, road maintenance. We also get a riverboat fund, which is part of casino revenue. All the municipalities in Indiana get a portion of the casino revenue, and that goes into the riverboat fund. And it is used as well for capital improvements. Then, as I mentioned earlier, we have a stormwater utility in which we charge user fees based on impervious area. And so our stormwater utility funds all of our drainage and stormwater projects. And then, of course, the edit fund as well, which is economic development income tax. We use a portion of that. We've done an economic development income tax bond to pay for some of our capital road improvements, but then we also do some kind of pay-as-you-go paving and things like that. Plus, we pay for our economic development director and our communications coordinator out of that fund as well. And then certainly the other one, big fund is our TIF district, which is a tax increment finance district. This money is used to support economic development projects. And quite frankly, a lot of the things that the town does is funded through that tax increment finance district. We've talked a lot about 100 South today. Without the TIF district, we would be unable to fund large capital improvement projects like that. And so the TIF is used to basically support and do capital projects that encourage economic development in our community. So if you look at that fund, you'll see a lot of projects that really support growth in the business area. So that's kind of the rundown of all the funds. I'll just speak generally of some of the budget changes. We did propose, just like we did in the general fund, a 3% cost of living adjustment for employees. It will be at the department head's discretion on whether to provide that to the employees or not if they're deserving based on their performance. We've assumed a 10% liability increase, 0% health insurance placeholder, which we've got good news from there. On the Parks Department, I think a couple of things over the last couple of years, we've been trying to address some of the structural issues in the Parks Department. And so one of the things we're continuing to do is looking at the restructuring of the Park Department, create some succession planning and kind of a better management structure of how we can manage it. We do have several employees over the age of 60 in our Parks Department, and so we want to be able to, when those employees eventually decide to retire, that we're able to bring in other good employees to fill those positions and kind of continue to support it. We've also added one position for a groundskeeper in that parks budget as well. We've continued investment in trail and sidewalk design and construction. And every time we do surveys, the number one thing we always hear from people about parks is they want more trails and sidewalks. And certainly as Avon has grown, we've got a lot of gaps in our infrastructure in terms of trails and sidewalks. So we're trying to kind of continue to fill those needs and keep projects moving forward. We did purchase park property, the summer lot property, which is just on the west side of County Road 625 East. And we did do a payment plan with the summer lots. So the budget does cover the payment for that purchase of that land. We had great success with our 4th of July event. And certainly I know the council said, great job, and expectations keep rising. So we did put a little bit more money in there to kind of continue to grow and improve that 4th of July event. One of the big things in the parks budget this year, I know the council's aware of this, is we've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers on the emergency stream bank protection on County Road 625. It was actually originally our hope to fund that project 100% from food and beverage. Unfortunately, as we were working on the budget this year, in order to fund that whole project, it's a little more. Our share of the project is about $445,000. So if we paid for all of that just from food and beverage, that was really going to put a lot of pressure on our ability to operate and function. And so I've actually proposed a split. So half of that cost would actually come out of food and beverage. The other half would then come out of the Stormwater Utility. And I did present that to the Stormwater Utility at their last meeting, and they were agreeable to covering that additional cost. So that certainly, we appreciate the willingness of the Storm Board to do that and kind of fund that other half, because that does allow us to do some other things with our parks budget. And then we've also, for those of you who've walked in the park, we do have some issues with some standing water. We call it kind of the Sycamore Trail, which is kind of from the middle of the park back over to the library. There's some wetlands and things back there, and we've had some problems with that area kind of flooding, and we've had some pavement failures. So I think Steve and Gary have talked, and we may have some solutions to try to address, kind of lift those areas up and try to get the trail out of kind of the boggy, wet area. We certainly don't want anyone to get hurt back there. So we're looking at some options in terms of trying to address some of that safety issue and to kind of just make that trail more usable. I will point out, we talked about we've bought some land over the last couple of years. And in our capital improvement plan, we've talked about doing a park bond. Because of the big emergency stream bank protection project on 625, I've actually proposed delaying that bond until 2023. So we are doing the design of the projects. That's working through the process. We would plan to bid them next year and actually then go to construction in 2023. So I did push that off one more year. I know the council's excited to get some of those projects started. And I know the park staff is as well, but we wanted to kind of address some of these other operational issues first. And with the White Lake Creek Stream Bank that basically becomes our bond payment. So that kind of makes a smooth transition for us. A couple more things in TIF. In speaking with the county, they do still think that they will move forward with the Dan Jones widening project next year for the bridge over CSX. The town had asked for some specific improvements to enhance the aesthetics of it, as well as provide lighting and some things like that to kind of match what we've done on Avon Avenue. And so we do have a match in there for us to pay for those kind of improvements. We have two big projects going on, Dan Jones widening phase 1 and 2. So this is continuing. It's actually funding our construction match. We expect to actually bid the Dan Jones phase 1 at the end of next year. So at that time, when it gets bid, we have to make our match, but the construction actually isn't expected to take place till 2023. So our match is in there to support that Dan Jones widening phase 1, and then continue the right-of-way acquisition for Dan Jones widening phase 2, which will occur in 2024. And then we've also talked over the last, a lot of development along County Road 900, including Costco. And Walmart has put a lot of pressure on County Road 900 East. So the Public Works Department is looking at doing some improvements on County Road 900, so there's funding in there for that as well. CCD, as I already mentioned, funding street improvements. The other thing we do fund from CCD is police vehicles. Last year, we were able to fund 4 vehicles based on doing leases and paying 2 cash. This year, the town needs to buy a new vehicle due to some added staff, so we had to cut that back a little bit, but we still have enough funding to fund 5 vehicles for the police department by lease and then purchase 1 with cash as well. So we're still able to, which was the police's request, if they could try to keep getting 6 vehicles per year instead of 4. So there is funding in there for that as well. Steve actually asked for a little bit of extra funding as well in NVH for additional paving and pavement markings. If the council recalls, the last couple of years, we've gotten really high bids on our pavement marking, which is an important safety component. And so in order to do that, we put a little bit of additional funding in there as well. In edit, it provides funding for job training incentive program. This was something John had recommended to the council last year. We have not spent the money this year, but it was something that John recommended that we try to keep in the budget as an incentive as people come along. If we're able to provide that, that makes us more competitive for better job opportunities in our community. I know we talked a little bit about our communications coordinator, and we've been really, really happy with him. And I think he's really stepped up the image and the way the town looks. And we've been appreciative of that. Not only has he been fabulous, but as you all know, we kind of brought him in at a lower salary. And so I did put a salary adjustment in there for him as well to keep him competitive. We did look at some of the surrounding communications coordinators, and he was underpaid. But certainly I think the value of the work that he's providing deserves a pay increase. So there is a pay increase in there for him as well. We also fund about $25,000 in police technology out of edit. We did have some extra money in there, so we're proposing $35,000 worth of police technology for next year. And then we also, one of the other things we pay for out of edit is a contribution to the Chamber of Commerce. And then we provide funding to the Hendricks County Economic Development Partnership as well. So we continued our contributions to both of those organizations, which again, we believe helps our economic development and supports our businesses in our community. So the last one I'll mention, I talked a little bit about it already, the Stormwater Utility. The big piece is they are funding half of the White Lake Creek Stream Bank stabilization. But if you go back when we originally did the creation of the Stormwater Utility, there was kind of this backlog of projects, which was part of the reason we wanted to take it over. And so there's some continued capital improvement dollars in there to keep it continuing to address some of those larger, big capital improvement projects. I will mention that the Stormwater Utility actually approves the budget. And so the budget that's presented to you is actually already approved by the Stormwater Board. It does have to be presented and approved by the council as well, but I did want to pass that along and make the council aware that they've approved it as well. The TIF budget has been reviewed by the Redevelopment Commission as well. They kind of did an original kind of a quick look at it. They'll talk about it again this month. So that's proceeding as well. That's really all I have on the budget general fund or the non-general fund presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Everything that we've presented here is actually balanced. So if the council has other things they want funded, or if there's things that you don't want to fund, please let me know and we can make those adjustments.
You know, I probably heard that, Ron. Did I hear balanced?
It is balanced, yes.
It's the first we've heard this for a few years, isn't it? Yeah. No, thank you. That's
We balance every year.
we not bounce, balance. There's a little difference, but no, thank you. It's great.
Ryan, are all the expenses tied to the proper fund balance now? Before we were paying salaries out of other fund balances. Do we have these aligned now where all the expenses are coming from the proper accounts?
Yeah, I think we have. You know, there's a few things that are always, you know, we talked about when we hired the communications coordinator position. You know, it would maybe be better if that salary was in the general fund versus an edit, but certainly our edit fund is strong enough to support that. So I don't think that's a problem. There was really no way to fund it by the general fund. I think most of the other funds, I think we've aligned pretty well. The public works people are in public works funds. Even Julie, that's, you know, one of the things A portion of Julie's time is spent. Julie is the treasurer for the Stormwater Board, so she pays all of their bills. So a portion of her salary is being paid from there. And we've kind of got this appropriate balance of where people are being paid for. And so I think we're in good shape, and I think we've got people where they ought to be.
Thank you.
We got one question though on that, on the motor vehicle MVH. So really always happy to see the ADA sidewalk ramps moving along every year. It's always great and helps us on being compliant and everything. Is there any way you can probably guesstimate how many ramps or lineal feet of sidewalk we're getting for that budget amount?
Oh gosh, that'll be hard. So, one of the things we've really done the last couple of years is we've done the sawing, which has allowed us to do a lot. It's been breaking down about 30,000 of it we've been using to pay for sawing. And then the other 20,000 we've been using to replace ramps, like remove, replace. But we're probably doing even more than that 50,000. That's just specifically like Gerald and Steve going out and identifying specific locations. But when we do our paving projects, as you know, we're required to bring, anytime we do paving next to a ramp, we have to make sure that's compliant. So there is some money that's being used out of MVH as well, or some of those other funds that when we're doing paving, we're addressing ramps too.
No, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, if I gave you a guess, it probably wouldn't be right. So.
When you do, always put those down, the metrics, when you get together with us, because it's encouraging. It's good to see and show that we are making progress on those. So it's more of a compliment rather than a critical thing. And then also for the police department, that's great with 6 vehicles per year. I'm very happy for that too.
I would just say good job to the entire staff, because years ago, this was a very daunting task that we would have to go through over weeks and weeks. And to have this figured out as early as we do, we're very close to that, is amazing. But to have it to where it actually works, I mean, that's a big deal. And so, we would hammer through this every week for weeks, and we would make sure that we got to where we were. But there's been some procedures along the way that have helped do this by passing all of the responsibility to the department heads and allowing them to work together, I think has helped greatly. So I appreciate all the effort in it.
Any other discussion? No, thank you.
I may just mention, so the next steps in the process, the budget has been advertised. So the next step is the council will hold a public hearing at your next meeting on September 23rd. And then once the public hearing is done, if you guys have any more feedback, that'll be public hearing and discussion. And then the hope would be to do final adoption the first meeting in October. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to ordinances. Final reading of Ordinance 2021-21, the Harvest Landing Annexation.
I'll just do a quick introduction. This was introduced at the last council meeting. So this is the final step in the annexation process. This is for, if you recall, there was one house left on County Road 900 that wasn't part of town, and it was kind of the straggler in the completion of that project. So this is to bring that last parcel in, and it will be part of Harvest Landing Development, which is where Costco's going. Happy to answer any questions.
Any more discussion on that? I know we've talked about it before. So.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-21, the Harvest Landing annexation.
I'll second.
Great, thank you. Julie, roll call.
Craig Zuzan,
4.
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon.
4. Next is our final reading on Ordinance 2021-22, the Patel Annexation.
Yeah, likewise, the council did a public hearing on this at their last meeting and introduced the ordinance and approved the fiscal plan. The Patel property is off of County Road 900 East. It's about a quarter mile north of the Harvest Landing project, and it's about 16 acres. And this is a super voluntary annexation, and this is the final step in the process. Happy to answer any questions.
If no discussion, would someone make a motion?
I make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2021-22, annexation known as 590 and 606 North County Road 900 East. The Patel annexation, excuse me.
Second.
Okay, we have first and seconds. Julie?
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Next is the final reading on ordinance 2021-23, the Sing annexation.
Yeah, just like the previous two annexation ordinances, we introduced this, held a public hearing, and the council approved a fiscal plan at their last meeting. The Sing property is actually located at the northeast corner of US 36 in the Ronald Reagan Parkway. The property owner actually owns 3 parcels. One is already in the town of Avon. One was kind of split in a weird way, and then one was kind of off on its own, and they are interested in doing some kind of a development with the properties. Either way, they would eventually have to combine them and have them in one jurisdiction, so it made sense for the property owner to do that through the town of Avon, so they did file a super voluntary annexation petition. Happy to answer your questions.
I'm ready to make a motion,
Go ahead.
unless there's any discussion. Make a motion that we adopt and approve ordinance 2021-23, the Sing property.
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Next is final reading of ordinance 2021-24, which was a zoning appeal of 5154 East County Road 200 South.
People's Planning Director, Town of Avon. This is a rezoning request to rezone 15.7 acres from the AG zoning district to the R1 zoning district. The purpose of this particular zoning classification is to allow the property to be subdivided using the minor plat process. If you go in our subdivision control ordinance, there is no mechanism for a property zoned AG to actually be subdivided. So anybody that wants to subdivide a property that's zoned AG agricultural, they have to actually zone it out of ag to subdivide it. The property is currently improved with a single family residence. It's got a lot of floodplain on it. The petitioner's desire is to, I believe they're working on the existing house on the structure, rehabbing it, working up, getting it up to snuff here. And they want to subdivide it into a 5-acre and 10-acre tract, and then build a second house on the 10-acre tract. The 10-acre tract has a whole load of floodplain on it. Probably can't get any more than 1 or 2 lots on this property anyway. But they want to avail themselves of the minor plat process. So the purpose of this particular rezoning is to allow them to subdivide it into 2 lots. Okay, happy to. The Plan Commission heard this. They heard it on August 23rd. They did forward that with a favorable recommendation. That the vote on that recommendation was 5-1, and I would be happy to answer. There were no commitments or conditions proposed. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Whereabouts on 200 South is this?
Looking
at the map,
It's
it's
like
hard to read.
it's at the intersection, I want to say, of 200 South at 625 east, northwest corner, I believe. I have to take a look at my map, sorry. Fifty-one fifty-four East County Road, 200 South is the address, and it is located.
That's fine.
On the northwest corner of 525 East. Northwest corner of 525 East and County Road 200 South. A little 15-acre parcel right there, the far west side of the town.
So you were saying that there's already a single-family home on the property, but they want to keep that as 5 acres for that single family and
Yes.
then make a separate 10-acre tract?
10-acre tract, and that 10-acre tract has it's encumbered not only with a flood hazard area, it's actually a floodway. So it's almost impossible to develop it. There's just a little sort of pocket in the southern portion where they could actually build a house on there. It's big enough to build, a decent house. It's just that there's not room on this property because of the creek that flows through there and the floodway that's encumbering it to really subdivide it into a lot of lots. Two or three is the maximum.
So you think on the 10-acre tract, they want to subdivide it into, they're looking for a 5?
A 5-acre lot and a 10-acre tract, yeah.
So but not asking to subdivide the 10-acre at this time?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, to me, it looks like the memo that you have from back in June to the attorney, that it looks like it meets the criteria and looks like we're in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, the comp plan proposes agriculture for the area. But the agricultural recommendation in the plan is perpetuates agricultural uses or establishes estate lots. And a 5-acre and a 5-acre lot and a 10-acre lot are essentially estate lots.
So this 10-acre tract, will it have a shared driveway with the 5-acre, or is there road frontage that would allow?
There is road frontage for it to allow it to have its own separate driveway. Yeah.
Any other discussion, comments? Anyone want to make a motion?
Make the motion to approve ordinance 2021-24, zoning amendment 21-04, 5154, East County Road 200 South, as presented.
I'll second.
Julie, would you take roll call, please?
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth.
4.
Next, we have final reading of ordinance 2021-25, which is a zoning appeal of 122 North County Road 900 East.
In this particular one, this one's a little easier, I believe. This is you just annexed it, as a matter of fact. There's a little parcel that's part of the Harvest Landing commercial subdivision. So it went through a platting process. When the plat was taken down to the county for recording, the county said, hey, wait a minute, you've got a single-family residential lot that hasn't been incorporated yet. No one knew it. So the petitioner then filed the annexation petition with the clerk, and they filed a rezoning petition with us, taking that from Hendricks County's single-family residential district, I believe it's their RB zoning district, to our C2 zoning classification. That C2 classification matches the zoning of the entire parcel that it is right now. The plat, county did allow the petitioner to record the plat, so he won't have to go through another platting process. The plat was recorded, but we do need to bring it into the town and appropriately zone it so they can continue with the development of the Harvest Landing commercial subdivision. Plan Commission heard this again on August 23rd. They did forward it with a favorable recommendation that was unanimous, 6-0. There was one member absent at the meeting. They did not attach any proposed commitments on this particular piece of property, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Nothing on this one?
Bill, I'm looking at your map. Is it just a little sliver to the north?
It's two parcels. It's actually two parcels on the Beacon site. There's a teeny tiny sliver parcel, and then there's the single family residential lot. So it's both of those on the Beacon site that were not in the town that were included in this. I think that the Beacon excerpt that I've put in the staff report may not show that little parcel to the north, but that's included in this. And that was my mistake. It was not a mistake of the petitioner. I just highlighted the parcel and didn't include the second parcel, but it's both. It's both of those parcels you see on the Beacon map.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any discussion? If not, would someone make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2021-25, the Harvest Landing rezone.
No, it's not a Harvest Landing, is it?
Well, it's 122 North County Road, 900.
It's a zoning amendment.
Yeah, I've got it written here, on here is Harvest Landing rezone. My apologies, I'll modify that. Let me get back to that page.
I'll make it easy for you. I'll make a
You make
motion.
that.
Approve ordinance 2021-25 with zoning amendment 21-05, 12 North County Road 900 East as presented.
And I'll second.
Was it 12 North or 122?
It is 122.
Okay,
I'm reading it off here, it says 12.
we'll get it right yet, guys. I think we have it now. Do we need to
All right.
restate it, or?
You really just need a motion for
Dan says, let's move on.
With that being said, Greg Zuzen,
Or
Don Loudon,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Aaron Teveba.
Form.
Next is legal counsel report.
nothing new tonight.
Thanks, Dan.
Great.
Second public comment. Someone would like to come forward, please come forward. Nope. Okay, we're going to close that. Last council comment. I'd like to call or ask for or try and calendar an executive session. Just for town manager review process and things like that.
Do you have a date in mind?
Just, I thought we could discuss it. We could all look at our calendars, except my phone's at home, so.
Do you want to try in the next week or two? What do you want to do here?
If we could, I'd like to do it before.
You guys throw out a date. I'll work around.
You trying to do this before the next council meeting?
If possible.
16th?
I could do the 16th. There's a
Yeah, I
BZA
can
meeting
too.
that night, but I could do that.
I may have a dinner appointment that night with former church, so I'm not available on the 16th.
About the Wednesday before, 15th, by chance?
Dan?
Okay.
I would just say before the end of the month, so, I mean, it doesn't need to be, I would just like to do it before we, get the budget approved.
Do we want to maybe just try to work it in before our next meeting, or is that too late?
Right, no, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fun.
Do that before the next council meeting?
Yeah, the 23rd.
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to just meet?
5:30 executive session, 7 o'clock.
Does that sound good?
Sounds
Dan,
fine
is
to
okay
me.
with you?
Yep.
Ryan, do you have any
Sure, that's
meetings?
enough time.
Yeah.
And just so I'm clear, we are noticing this for 5:30 on the 23rd of September, executive session in regards to employee matters.
Yes,
Okay. Evaluation.
yes.
Okay. Yes. I only have certain things I can notice it for, so as long as it's for employee evaluations. Okay.
Yes, it would be. I guess the last thing I'd want to say is that, the town did just put out that survey, which is a public residence, could go on I don't know if it's on our website or not, but I know it's out on social media, on our Facebook page. And it's a survey. Please go on, give us feedback. We're going to leave that open until October 1st and then review the information that's there. So the more people that we have that goes on and completes the survey, the more helpful it is to us. Anyone else?
Nope.
Okay, with not, then we'll move on to council calendar.
Yes, next meeting is September 23rd at 7 PM And then just again, a reminder that once we hit October, November, and December, that our council meetings are the first and third Thursdays of the month. I know Julie already sent you guys all meeting invites.
Thank you, Julie.
That was great. Almost missed one.
All right, thanks. Meeting's adjourned.